Hello and welcome to the first Innovia podcast. My name is Steve Waltz.
And I'm Jeff Pergolski.
And Jeff and I are going to be your host for the upcoming podcast. And we're both excited to be having these for Innovia Consulting to really help you get more out of your NAV/BC journey.
Journey, is this a music podcast, Steve? I'm just kidding. Yeah. We are going to, we're going to talk about all things Microsoft Dynamics ERP. We're going to talk about the awesome team at Innovia. We're going to talk about, I'm going to try to bring some more technical topics to this podcast. I think that there's a ton of exciting stuff going on with Office 365 and Azure. And so I think that's what I'm excited about. Steve, what about maybe we should give them a little background about ourselves, since you are the consummate sales professional. Why don't you start?
Yeah, I think a couple of things you need to know. Like, I'm based out of Indiana. Jeff is based out of Wisconsin. I'm a Bears fan, and he's an unhappy Packers fan right now. But besides that, we'll keep it strictly business. What do you think, Jeff?
Yeah, well, we'll keep it mostly business. We're both members. We better disclose this. We're both members of the customer engagement team, so we can't be held to too serious a standard. But we are going to have some nuggets of I think of good business discussion, technical discussion in here. But there might be a little football, a little baseball, depending on the season. So
exactly. So if I poke at Jeff, I apologize ahead of time. But as Jeff said, as introductions, so we thought really to kind of set the stage of who your host are and kind of give a little bit more of a background. So as I said earlier, my name is Steve Waltz, and with the customer engagement team here at Innovia. My background is I have a business degree, a management degree from the great Ball State University. Woo. I actually went. That's right. Chirp, chirp. 3 years of accounting. And I woke up one day and said, I'm not going to be an accountant. So I decided to get a management degree. And that kind of led me into the field of sales. I decided to start my sales career a few months right before the great stock market crash of 1987. When the market
perfect timing there.
You know what, Jeff? It's kind of interesting because it really was for me because, in that September day, the stock market dropped almost 25%. And being a young salesperson, everybody was singing the blues on, oh my gosh, it's so bad, it's this. And actually 1988, I had the company's best year for that year. So it's really what you make of it. So my background is really in the sales. So I started in the automobile industry for a few years, and then I worked my way into a large healthcare pharma, Fortune 50 company. I was there almost 25 years. And I was a salesperson. I was a sales trainer. I worked on cross-functional teams, marketing panels, really ways to help the company sell and market more products. We use this CRM system called Salesforce.com. I utilized that for about 6 years, and then decided one day to retire. And then our boss, Tom Dorn, gave me a call. I used to work with Tom prior to that in a previous life, and so Tom retired me. And I've been fortunate enough to have that job that you keep telling yourself, hey, I want to get that job when it's that time. And so I've been fortunate enough to be here at Innovia for about 3.5 years now on the customer engagement team, and have members of people like Jeff. It's great because what I get to do is sell the talent that we have here at Innovia, help our current customers utilize their data to sell more things, and prospective customers that are actually looking at us to really have those great conversations on seeing if there's a fit. So that's kind of what my role is here. Jeff has a little bit more of a different role, and I'll let him tell you a little bit more about what he does here.
Thank you, Steve. So in terms of my background, I'm a more technical guy. I've got Steve will try to rein me in when I start going off on tangents or speaking techno jargon that no one understands. I am a proud graduate of University of Wisconsin, so Badgers are playing in that prestigious Pinstripe Bowl, I believe, tomorrow, and so go Badgers. I've got a degree in math and computer science, and I spent the first 17 years in a small family business trying to do all things technical in that regard, and then I switched it up and I joined the team at Innovia just over 10 years ago. I have started as a PC technician, network engineer, moved my way up to the point where I am also a proud member of the customer engagement team along with Steve. I'm a pre-sales engineer as well, so I get to work with the latest and greatest Microsoft technology and showing that to our customers and prospects. I've got 17 different Microsoft certifications dating all the way back to Server 2003, but also as current as the Azure Internet of Things certification, which I just got a couple months ago. So I'm going to try to keep it technical. I think, as Steve said, we're really excited about this podcast and about having another channel to introduce you to all the great team members at Innovia, outside of the customer engagement team, where I guess if we talk about that, we've got people like Steve with decades of industry experience. And then when you start to get to our functional consultants, boy, I don't know where to start, Steve. We've got rock stars, and actually industry recognized rock stars in warehousing, manufacturing, finance, you name it. And that's a little bit more your cup of tea, Steve.
Well, I think that's good that you brought that up, Jeff, because as we go through these podcasts, some of the things that we talk about here at Innovia is we find out that our customers that are the happiest are the ones that do a lot of the work on their own. So we're very big on teaching and leading our customers to where they can actually do a lot of the work on their own. And so, as Jeff said, we have some NAV All-Stars. We have industry recognized leaders here at Innovia. We teach a lot of the classes for the NAVUG/BC user group meetings. And I think that's a good lead into what we're going to talk about. So some of the things we're going to talk about at these podcasts is really things that can help you on your NAV BC journey. So a couple things that we actually will be focusing on as far as a future podcast are on events. And so we have our annual customer conference for our customers and prospective customers. We have a lot of the ISVs come in. We do that annually. This year we'll be at the Wisconsin Dells again in April. So we'll be having a podcast a little bit more in depth than that. What's actually coming up in a couple of months is the Microsoft NAVUG user group focus meeting, more that deep dive meeting where we'll be in Houston. It's in the middle of March. And then we'll also have another podcast as we get closer to October to Summit, which is the large NAVUG user event. I think, Jeff, was there, 1,400 just people that used NAV there. I know all the other user groups go to that meeting.
Right. Yeah, I think it was, there was, well over 10,000 attendees in total across the different Microsoft product lines. I think actually that's a good idea for a future podcast, is to maybe go into a little more in depth for people to help understand, for people who are new to the channel, maybe that understand what those different events focus on. And as they're coming up, I'm sure we could do some podcasts about helping people prep for those events. So this will be a great opportunity to do that.
And as Jeff said, he has 17 more certifications than I do. So when it gets into the, we kind of kid back and forth because I like not to go in the weeds, and Jeff can go into the weeds on a lot of this stuff. And we're fortunate enough to have consultants and resources like Jeff that can. So we'll be looking at different ways and different type of podcasts that's going to help you. And we're also going to have podcasts to kind of introduce to you some of our talent, like our boss, Tom Dorn, is a NAV All-Star. We have Holly Kutel, who is just retired as the chairman of the NAVUG Advisory Group, who's a NAV All-Star, who basically runs our service and support team. And then we also have a granted award winners. And so the goal is to really do a give back to our customers and those that are using NAV on these podcasts.
Awesome. Yep. And I'll be here to remind you of things like it's not just Nav, it's also Business Central, because we have been living and breathing Nav for the last several years. I think that actually, how long has Innovia been working with Nav? Do you know that, Steve?
Well, it's since 1999.
Oh, okay. So that's about as far back as you can go. So this transition to Business Central, the rebranding, and the sort of the refresh of the product is, I always struggle with that when I say Nav/BC or Nav/Business Central. And technically, I refer to in any of my documentation I refer to Business Central as D365 BC, because the full name of the product is Dynamics 365 Business Central. So I think that's just a reminder, although we did we're in the process, I think, of doing our first Business Central on-premise project, which is different than Dynamics 365 Business Central. So that, again, is just like giving me ideas about topics for these blogs and something else to talk about. So do you think that we have whet their appetite sufficiently, Steve? And is it time to wrap up this podcast? Our first ever?
Our first ever, I think so. We haven't thrown anything at each other. So
but it helps that I'm in Wisconsin, so I actually can't throw anything at you.
Yeah, we try to decide if it's better to have Jeff and I in the same room. We figured not for the first couple of these. It would be the safest decision, I think.
Yep, that was probably wise.
So, but Jeff and I will be releasing the topics here shortly. It'll be posted on our website. If you have a chance, our website is innovia.com. We're also on LinkedIn. You can follow us on LinkedIn and even Facebook. So we appreciate all your time today, and we're looking forward to talking to you on our next podcast. Thanks, and have a great day.
All right. Thanks, everyone.